The 11:57 p.m. train to Ravenswood was always eerily quiet. Few people travelled that late, and the dim fluorescent lights flickered as the train rattled through the dark tunnels. Sarah, exhausted from a long day at work, slumped into a seat near the back, her headphones in and her eyes half closed. At the next stop, a man boarded the train. He was tall, wearing a long black coat and a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed his face. Sarah glanced at him briefly, but something about his presence made her uneasy. She turned up her music and looked away. The train moved on, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She peeked over her shoulder and saw the man sitting a few rows behind her, his head tilted unnaturally to the side, his face still hidden. She told herself she was imagining things, but her heart raced anyway. At the next stop, the train doors opened, but no one got on or off. The man didn't move. Sarah's stop was coming up, and she began to gather her things, her hands trembling slightly. As the train slowed, she stood and walked toward the doors, keeping her eyes forward. But then she heard a low, guttural whisper that cut through her music. "Don't get off." Sarah froze. The voice was close, too close. She turned her head and saw the man standing right behind her, his face still obscured by the hat. His coat seemed to ripple unnaturally, as though it were alive. The train doors opened, and Sarah bolted out, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She didn't look back until she was halfway up the stairs to the street. When she did, the platform was empty. The train was gone. Relieved, Sarah hurried home, locking her door behind her. She tried to shake off the encounter, telling herself it was just her tired mind playing tricks. But as she lay in bed, she heard it again, the whisper, faint but unmistakable. "You should have stayed on the train." Sarah's blood ran cold. She sat up, her eyes darting around the dark room. And then she saw him, standing in the corner. His hat tilted just so, his coat shifting and writhing like shadows. He stepped closer, and Sarah realized with horror that the coat wasn't a coat at all. It was made of hundreds of tiny, writhing hands. The last thing she heard before the hands reached her was his whisper, soft and final, "Now you'll never leave."